The
Your mic's on.
regular meeting of the East Grand Forks EDA for Tuesday, July 23rd is now in session. Please call roll.
President Pokrzywinski.
Here.
Board Member Black. Blair.
Here.
Grinde. Hecht. Helms.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
You notice that's in alphabetical order. How often, Tim, have you ever been last in alphabetical order?
That's something.
Right. That does determine a quorum. Right. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion by Blair to approve the minutes,
Second.
second by Johnson. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes have been passed. All right. Number 3, bills and communications. We have no action needed on these two items. The review of accounts payable for July 2nd, 2019, and review of accounts payable July 16th, 2019. Anybody has any questions? Hearing none. Move on to reports. Delinquencies update.
We have none.
No delinquencies, that's always good news. Everyone's in good standing. B, monthly financial reports. Carla,
Yes, thank you.
it's all yours.
Everybody should have been emailed the actual activity for each account, and then included in your packet is the cash balance for each account. Normal activity within those accounts, and just highlight again that the 280 fund is in the negative, and we are collecting from Valley Golf, which has a loan with us through that account monthly through October. And then the 620 account is actually in the hole also, but it's always planned to have a transfer at year end out of the general levy. And all the other accounts are to the good, and most of them are loans that are being paid back. And then if you go to the 630, which is Sunshine Terrace, we have a balance of a little over $1 million, and the 682 fund, which is the infield building, which we collect rent, also has a balance of $343,000 in cash. Any questions?
If I may, in particular for Tim and Dale, I don't know what you know about the Valley Golf loan. Valley Golf loan is a loan that's paid 6 months of the year instead of 12. So they make payments that run, April through October, I believe it is.
Correct.
And then during the rest of the year, the account lies dormant, just accruing interest. Okay?
I have a question on the infill building. Can you update me a little bit on where we at there on that one? Are we still, have we done an
agreement is drafted. It is being reviewed by the owner of the one building, which means it's not us.
yeah,
I have to follow up. Remember, I was gone a couple of weeks. I have to follow up with him to make sure that it hasn't just slipped away. But we have received the first invoices for the cleaning, and we have invoiced the owner of the boardwalk building with the first 2 months of cleaning, his share of the first 2 months of the cleaning, which he told me to go ahead and invoice him.
so we got the appraisal back, or?
Oh,
I
the
haven't done
appraisal
that
will
yet.
follow as soon as I get the agreement actually signed.
Okay, you're still, okay, gotcha.
Okay, I didn't realize you were asking about.
Yeah, okay, you gotta get that.
I need to get the agreement signed so I have it in place because
Okay.
it can affect the
Gotcha.
value. Okay?
Any other questions for Carla? Or Paul? Okay. We're going to move to new business. We have a guest with us today, speaking to us with the North County Food Bank.
Susie Novak.
Susie Novak, thank you, is here, and she has some news for us, and apparently there's no action that we need to take. This is just for our information. So with that, welcome Susie Novak.
Thanks for having me. As he said, I'm from North Country Food Bank. We're one of 5 food banks in the state of Minnesota. In those folders I handed out to you, it shows our service area, the shaded part of Minnesota, on pretty much any document in there. That's what we cover. It's 21 counties in northwest and west central Minnesota. So basically from the Canadian border as far south as Browns Valley, which is even with the Twin Cities, but on the west side of the state. And then we go as far east as Bemidji and Osakis. And just for a little bit of an idea of what we do, so we source food nationally, regionally, and locally. We bring that into our warehouse, and we turn around and distribute that to 220 nonprofit organizations in northwest and west central Minnesota, like food shelves, soup kitchens, homeless shelters, senior centers. In order to get food from us, they have to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and they cannot charge for the food they distribute. So that's kind of our role. If you think of us, we're like the big warehouser. We're getting the food, the big quantities of food, and then we're distributing it out to the agencies who are giving it to the people who are struggling with hunger issues. So that's kind of our role. We have some big news. Over the last kind of 5 years, we've embarked on this project. We've grossly outgrown our facility. We leased additional space in Crookston. And then we knew at some point we needed a larger building. We were always looking for about 30,000 square feet. And, largely that's just to have more space, to have more freezer cooler space, because if you've ever been in our building, our freezer and cooler, compared to any other food bank, for sure in our region, probably in the United States, is really bad. And lots of food that's donated these days is frozen and refrigerated. So we needed more freezer cooler space. We wanted clean room space so we can repack product. We were just kind of being inhibited by the capacity of our building. And we knew it was the right thing to do to find a bigger facility in order to be able to distribute more food and serve more people. But we were also told we had to. We have a contractual relationship with Feeding America, which is the nation's food bank network, and they have deemed our current facility non-compliant for space issues. So we've been on this journey. We had done a lot of research in the last 5-6 years looking for buildings, and there was literally no buildings in sort of like a 50-mile vicinity of Crookston that were big enough to house our operations. We were donated some land in Crookston, so then we embarked on constructing a new building. We pursued state bonding funding for half the cost of the project. Polk County sponsored us on that. And so we were moving down that road until about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We were just doing some due diligence and reevaluating our position, and we came across a building over here in East Grand Forks that's for sale. That's 35,000 square feet on the ground. It's not quite as high all the way around, but it's got a bigger footprint on the ground, and it will suit our needs quite well. The building project was going to be, well, they said $6 million, and that was like 2 years ago, so you can imagine what that would be today, more than $6 million. We anticipate we'll be able to acquire this building and make the modifications necessary. We really need to add freezer cooler space. We need to add a loading dock, take down some walls, and shift some HVAC and sprinkler stuff. So our goal is to be in there by the end of this year for about $2.5 million. So we'll save over $4 million by doing this, and we'll be moving to the city of East Grand Forks, which we're really excited to be in this community. We think it offers us some benefits, having a bigger volunteer population to tap into. Crookston, it's only a town of 8,000. Here you get East Grand Forks, but the surrounding communities with lots of schools and organizations. We use over, 11,000 volunteer hours a year, so it's a big deal for us. Maybe some better trucking access issues on the I-29 corridor. Obviously, we're on Highway 2 in Crookston, and here, both locations are on Highway 2. But we're really excited. It will get us into a building a lot sooner, so we can start handling and distributing more food sooner. It's a positive thing for this community. When we're in a community, we tend to be able to do a lot more things there just because of proximity. It won't other than Crookston, us not being located in Crookston, the rest of our agencies around our service area, it won't have a big impact on them, other than we'll have a bigger facility to distribute more food. We deliver to all of them anyway, so where we're located does not really matter to them. So we just I wanted to come in today to let you guys all know that we're coming to town, and that, there are only 5 towns that get a food bank in Minnesota in them, and we're a really sophisticated behind-the-scenes operation that is distributing a lot of food. What a lot of people maybe don't realize is the agencies in your community that help people in need, like your food shelves, your senior centers. Most of those agencies get between 70 and 90% of all the food they distribute from our organization. So if you weren't familiar with us or our work, you would have noticed if we didn't exist before. So it doesn't affect the agencies in this community other than in a positive manner. We'll be closer and be able to allow them to access more food just because of our proximity. We'll still work in partnership with all the other agencies and all the agencies in Crookston in the same manner we had before. Our location will just be different. We want to be good stewards of our money because we depend on the kindness of donors in order to operate. So saving $4 million is a big deal for our organization. So we couldn't be more excited to come here and to begin operating, hopefully, like I said, by the end of this year. And there'll be much more to come, but we wanted to just give you guys a heads up that we're coming into the community and that, more to come, I guess, as we find out.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. We welcome you with open arms, and we do encourage everyone who has volunteer time available to step forward and do whatever they can. I do want to say I grew up in Crookston, and we have a good working relationship with our neighbors down the road. I know they're not all happy about this move. I want to make a point that we did not pursue you moving over here. It's just something that circumstances created the need for you to move, and I was just as surprised as anybody else to hear that this was happening. We're happy about it, and it's kind of a eye-opening thing to understand how the distribution of food works, and that you are the distribution center for all of these different food shelves around the area. So welcome.
Yes, and to be clear, we never intended to leave Crookston. We have board members from all across our service area, and this just came up and we came across it, and it was the right opportunity, and the finances made sense to us. So, and we still intend to, make sure Crookston, we get them situated and everything happens the way it needs to. But we could, we're very excited about coming in here and, getting operating out of this community.
And Susie had asked me not to say anything till I got a chance to talk to the folks over in Crookston. So I had the first time this went public was when we distributed the agenda for this meeting, and Susie will be back at the council meeting tonight to give the same message. But
yep, and it has actually gone public, like in the newspapers today over in Crookston and on the radio. I've been on all of them today, so this is the first most of them are fine. I mean, I've told major stakeholders behind the scenes, but we wanted to, this has all happened in a very short period of time, so we wanted to be sure it was what was happening before we made the announcement, and we're ready to move forward with it.
how many people do you employ?
We employ 11 and a half. Right now, we have 11 and a half.
Do you employ the top half or the bottom half of that person?
The bottom, no, the top. I'm not sure if she's leaving for college in a couple weeks, so I'm not sure what we're doing with that position right now, so.
It's interesting because this food bank serves Grand Forks County in North Dakota.
Yep.
And there's an arrangement where the Moorhead area is served actually out of North Dakota in that food bank, right?
Right. Yeah, there was a deal made way before my time. The food bank's been around for 36 plus years, and so that's when the territories were established. We do work in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and they do Clay County, mostly the proximity of Fargo-Moorhead. It makes sense. And then our proximity being in Crookston to Grand Forks made sense at the time. So we do some crossover work there, but there is the Great Plains Food Bank does work in the Grand Forks area too. They cover all of North Dakota. And so we both kind of work in the Grand Forks area, but we're specific. There is no other food bank that works in Northwest and West Central Minnesota other than North Country.
And when I talked with Susie and with her board chair, John Thorson, right?
Yep.
They are not at this point asking for financial assistance from the city, but may come back at a future date and talk with us about a financial program. So I've talked with them about the parameters of the types of assistance that are available through the EDA.
Yep, we're working, we still have, some fundraising to do. We continue to work on that, and, it will kind of depend down the road where that lands. We still have like about $1 million to raise, but we have stuff in the pipe and grant opportunities and some things we're pursuing. So we'll know a little bit more down the road on that front.
Anybody else have any questions for Susie?
Well, welcome, and maybe you'll become a resident of East Grand Forks once you like it over here.
I always lived here. I actually
always
live in
has.
Tabor.
Oh,
I grew
okay.
up in Tabor. I lived here
Okay,
for
so you're close anyway.
I lived here for
Okay.
like 17 years in town, and then I moved back out. I got married last summer and moved like 5 miles within my parents' house. So
Say, I used to see you walking on the.
I still
the
walk
point-
quite a bit
Yes.
here, but not at the same time in the
Yeah.
morning usually.
So, the meat market people, is that you?
The what?
L&M Meat?
Nope, no.
Susan Novak from Tabor.
Yeah, from the big city of Tabor.
Farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Susie?
we won't hold that against you.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so what-
Susie, meet Barry Wolfert, who's head of the chamber, Mr. Chamber, and Susie Novak, our
Nice to meet you.
newest business.
Yes.
So what types of food, I mean, do you
So it's-
distribute everything, or? you
It's
know what
really
I mean? Is
interesting.
it-
For donated food, whatever's donated,
Okay.
there's big donors. General Mills, Procter & Gamble, all those Hormel are big donors. And the 5 food banks in Minnesota share a percentage of each load that comes into the state donated from there. What we've seen in the last couple of years, which is actually quite alarming to us as a food bank, the trend, when you think traditional donated food, you think mac and cheese and green beans and that shelf-stable stuff. That's actually going away at an alarming rate. Manufacturers get more savvy, they're saving more money, but really it's been the introduction of all the Dollar Trees, the Family Dollars, those types of stores are buying that product on the secondary market that used to be donated to us. So we don't see that typical donated food nearly as much anymore. Yet our distribution has increased every year, and we're making that up in a couple of different places. Retail store donations is huge for us. That started with Walmart and has expanded to nearly every grocery store in our service area. So Walmart was first, Walmart and Target. Hugo's is huge. They donate every day, all their locations. So we're getting a lot of food from those types of organizations. And then I always joke, but it's actually true. If we had to depend on the food that was available in our service area to feed hungry people, we would literally have potatoes and potato chips. I mean, because there aren't a ton of food manufacturers in our service area. They just don't exist.
Yep.
But because of our relationships, we have access to a wide variety of food. But now the focus has shifted. As the nation has become more health conscious, so has the Emergency Food Network. And so produce products have become a really big deal in the last 2 or 3 years. I bet 3 or 4 years ago, we distributed maybe 300,000 pounds of produce, and last year was like 4 million. So it's huge. I mean, that's where we're making up. That typical donated food has gone away, but we're making that up in some other areas. And then we also run a purchase food program for our agency, so there's things that they always want that are never, ever donated. So we work with the other food shelves in the state and buy them in, not by the pallet, but by like the 3 or 4 truckload. So we get really good pricing on it. So the agencies can still get that product at a much reduced price than they would, pay getting it anywhere else. So we have 4 or 5 kind of major food streams that we're always working with. But the donated going away is definitely a concern, and we're always looking for ways to pick that up, and so agencies have enough food to distribute.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks for having me. And for those who have to listen to the same thing later tonight, I'm sorry.
Okay, let's get back to the director's report. Mr. Gordy, number 1, regional market capture study update, subcommittees. And we've got information that was handed out at the beginning of the meeting.
I put at each of your locations a list of the subcommittees. We are looking for people to populate those committees. It helps because of the nature of what this is. We'd like to have as many private sector folks as possible do this. My first question is, which one of you would like to volunteer for each committee? There should be about Barry, about 2 to 3 meetings per committee, right? That's what you had told me. Okay, and then, do you have suggested names that I can give to Barry, in case you're not available to participate in any of these?
Paul, could you explain to us what these different groups will be doing?
I'm going to defer to Barry to explain what each of the groups are doing. Do you have a copy of the committee list? You're going to get multiple lists. I can see that.
Barry, can you come up and sit at a microphone so people at home can hear you?
We can share.
Oh,
Here you go, Tim. Pretty sure I know.
Oh, my God. We're good.
Howdy. Oh, it's on. Well, we have 6 different committees, as Paul said. They're going to be task forces. They'll probably meet anywhere from 2 to 5 times, kind of depending on the complexity. The first is Community Information Resources Working Group. We've hired the Praxis Strategy Group to actually do most of this work, so this will probably just be 2-3 people that will work. This will be mainly data. Financial Incentives Working Group, one of the thoughts is that we would take a look at what do each of the 2 cities have in terms of financial incentives for potential new businesses, and actually catalog that and actually put that on the websites for both respective economic development corps and city councils. And then Retail Regional Services Prospects. This will be the group that will identify the retail and services that we don't currently have in our market or that are underrepresented in our market. Once we go through item A and get that data, and then they'll identify potential prospects that we should have or could have in our market. Then next, the consumer analytics, the geofencing piece. We actually have our first meeting this Thursday at 3:30 with the Buxton group, who will be doing that, and then we have 2 additional meetings where we'll be identifying what we're going to geofence in terms of what are the filters, what are the parameters. And that'll be a very interesting committee. And then Community Special Events Assessment. We hope to get a group of people together. We'll probably do a focus group or 2 as well, where we'll identify what special events should Grand Forks have, or East Grand Forks have, that we don't currently have. And then item F is a differentiator working group. We've heard everything from a children's museum to a butterfly house. There's all kinds of big ideas. The bottom line is we're going to try to identify 2 or 3 kind of major attractions. We have a lot of special events as 2 communities, but we don't really have that major attraction, so to speak, that brings people like a large museum or something like that. So we're going to take a look at what are some of those potential differentiators, which of those will work, which of those are fundraisable, because it's going to take some unique things in order to put something like that on the ground in our 2 communities. Ideally, it would be targeted to pull the Canadians from Winnipeg into our market instead of going past us to Minneapolis or Fargo, which we assume they're doing, and we'll know a lot more granularly how many of them really are going past us when we get our geofencing data back in item D. So those are really the 6 groups, and like Paul said, we're populating those. We don't need a lot of people on them, but if this group has several recommendations of some good business people or local citizens that would be a good fit in these, we'd be interested in getting those names from you. Next Monday, I'm expecting the 2 co-chairs, Russ Crary and Matt Wallowak, and I are meeting at 1:30 to kind of finalize the list of the groups. Most of the people in the committee have gotten back to me with several suggestions of different people they think would be good to have on there. So then we'll reach out and invite them to be part of the process. So if you have some suggestions, you can email them to me, barry@gochamber.org, or get them to Paul, and he can get them to me, and we'll put those on our list to invite.
We're send to both at the same time, so we can.
Yeah, just
work on the
CC
same
me or
list.
CC Paul, it'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
You look like you have a question.
Any suggestions or questions about this item?
This is the fun part of the work, where you get to shape what the future is.
I was just gonna say that I would think that we'd probably want somebody on B and D there, definitely. I don't know about C. I don't know how, because I don't know how much we can contribute to that, as right now we don't have room for, we don't have an industrial park or anything along those lines. I don't know how many retail establishments we have downtown that are available. I mean, I don't know how much benefit we can pull from that. It might be good to have the list, but I don't know if we need anybody to shape that one. I don't know what people's thoughts are on that. But I definitely think having a voice in the geofencing and then, you know, the financial incentives group would be good so that people know what we have to offer on this side of the river as well.
And I personally expect to work closely with Barry and the group on all of these things. It's nice to have the private sector, the non-public sector side represented. It's easy for us to spend money. It's hard for the private sector to spend money.
What's your deadline for getting people to step forward?
I think we'd take anybody at any point in the process, but next Monday I would like to extend the invite and set the dates for the first meetings. The geofencing meeting, the first one's actually this Thursday.
Okay.
With Buxton, and then we'll have 2 more that will finalize the filters and the parameters.
Okay.
And obviously we can include East Grand Forks in those filters and parameters, because that's part of that. That's just logical. We need that broad diversity.
Okay.
Mike, if I may, my
Sure.
personal feelings would be nice if there were an East Grand Forks representative on each of the committees, so that there would be the East Grand Forks perspective on each of the committees. Okay, I think that's
That would be
important.
my intent, would be to try to find someone, you know, even if I don't get names from this group.
Yeah.
I will work to get someone from East Grand Forks on all 6 for sure.
Okay.
That will be my intent, just so you know.
So you'll work on that. It's not just on us to come up with the names. Okay.
Your
All right.
input is valuable, but, you know, I'll be doing the same thing, and Barry will be doing the same thing.
And by reaching out to you guys, we're, you know, 2 heads are better than 1.
Yeah.
Do you plan on attending the meeting on Thursday then?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, it's opposite the city to farm tour, and with reluctance, I'm not going to be able to be in both spots at the same time. So I will be at the meeting on Thursday, yes. Are you planning to go on Thursday?
I was thinking about it. I just have to move something, I think. So,
That'd be great if you could.
yeah.
I think it'll be interesting.
I think it'll be very interesting.
I'll just be honest, I just want to make sure that we get our stuff taken care of on the east side.
Our fair
So-
share, you know, 50
That's all.
Our fair share, 50% of the zones, right?
Exactly. No, of course, no. Just to make sure, so.
Moving on, Realtor commissions on city-owned lots. Give us an update on that.
I have a meeting this afternoon with 2 of the realtors to talk about how to work out the mechanics. That meeting was set up yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, so we're moving ahead on that so that we can come back and tell you how that will work, so the realtors can do their things and we can support them.
And does that need, whatever that recommendation that you come back to us with, does that need our approval and
I
city
think-
council approval?
I think you're going to want to make a recommendation to the city council to accept it or not accept it.
Okay.
And then should go through city council because there will be some thoughts on the city council about the participation by realtors.
Sure. Sounds good. Next item, Grow, Minnesota. Director is working with the chamber to schedule visits to 15 to 20 local businesses.
That says it all.
Okay. Oh, all right.
When do you think those meetings will start?
How soon Tina's going to set the first one up? Next week, maybe? Probably
It'll
next
be
week.
August, we'll finish, I'm guessing we'll finish that first or second week of September, depending on the schedules of those businesses.
Probably about over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll do all the visits.
And it's a new set, that you're going to be repeating any of the visits you went to already, or will there be some of that?
Couple of larger ones, I think, Paul and I.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are a couple businesses that are very important to visit on an
Yep.
ongoing basis.
That
But
sounds
beyond
good.
that, we're trying to expand the database so that we are visiting different businesses and get different perspectives each year as well.
American Crystal, we will go to probably every year, just, they're such a major primary sector employer.
Yep. Okay. Speaking of major businesses. Number 5, unfinished business. Mayo update.
There is one item I am waiting on, and that's the report on the financial analysis. I have been promised that report today, tomorrow.
Soon.
It's the one that was done outside, because we wanted outside source that. It's being done by the Small Business Development Center, SBDC. So by doing that, There's no cost involved. That's a very good price.
Yes.
But
Can't beat that.
I need to get the report from them, and as soon as it's done, I think I can put the entire packet together. But they are also asking for money to be put into the budget. Remember, we talked about that when they visited, so I have included money in the budget proposal for next year that would cover a contribution to SBDC.
Oh, SBDC, not mail.
Not mail, SBDC.
That would be kind of a problem. I think,
Just kind of scratching my head. What?
I'm sorry, Mike.
money.
That's all right.
SBDC.
Okay.
Because they talked about that, and
Yep.
they do help a lot of businesses within the community each year, and they do things like this.
Yeah, they were here and presented
Yes.
a presentation to us.
And the woman who was here is the one who did the analysis,
Okay.
and she's having her work checked by another SBDC representative to make sure that she hasn't missed anything.
Okay.
So that's moving along, and as soon as we get that, I will do a double check and then a triple check, and I've invited one of the I talked to Mike Delisle this morning, and I asked him if he could have the one person I've been working with his company work with me to go through when we do the check to make sure we haven't missed anything, so we can submit it in its entirety.
Are we still on schedule so that they will be able to
Yes.
break ground and be able to do the construction over the winter?
That's what we're looking at. We're hoping to have the building in place before winter.
Wonderful.
Because of the
Good.
type of building, we're still looking to have the building in place before winter.
Good.
So we're pushing.
So the bottom line is, we're not holding up the process at all there. We're just waiting for all the other stuff to get done.
After I get this in, I will also convene a loan committee meeting so that we can deal with the city's portion of the loan, so that won't have any delay, and we can have, Ron's already prepared the paperwork for that. So we're in really good shape on our part of it.
Okay.
It's just, there are things that the state system requires that go beyond things that we require locally.
Yep.
And it's just because of what they have to deal with on a statewide basis.
Okay.
It's nice knowing all of our businesses here, okay?
Will it require a special board meeting for us then, if to keep it moving?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe.
Because I think if we need to do that, we should do that
Yeah,
to make sure we don't hold this project up.
If it came to that, I would ask you, but right now, our hands are going to be tied by the schedule by which DEED, the state agency, works. Internally, we can get it done, and I'm aiming to have a loan committee and recommendations for our next board meeting.
Great.
We've already done the public hearing, so we've had good chunks of it out of the way.
On
It's just
August.
scheduling it right now.
Okay. We have one final item. Barry's here. They're doing a city to farm tour.
4:30 today?
Thursday.
4:30
On today, Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
And then,
Yeah.
and then the egg socials afterwards. So
Okay. Do you want to
stop by
just
for
give?
the farm.
Yeah.
Stop by for either one. Paul knows about it too, so
It was
Right.
very good last year.
it is good.
It
Yeah,
is fun.
I've been on one of those. They're interesting.
And where are they going?
It's on the back, Mike. Adams Farm, Adams Family Farm.
Adams Family Farm in East Grand Forks, 20817 430th Avenue Southwest. So you should know where that is, Diane.
I'm right there,
Right on
yeah.
58,
County 58,
2058.
Okay.
basically, is what it is.
And there's a big sign that says Adams Farm.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, you won't miss it. It's huge.
Okay.
It's a very fun and interesting program. This one's about hemp production, so it will be enlightening.
So what's the plan on that? Is everybody just driving out there? Is that the deal, or what's, is that, okay,
They have plenty of room for parking
okay.
without going into any of the fields.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Helms, second by Blair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.